So it's been a while. Haha, I'm back. I had some time today. Yippee. The idea for this is just, honestly, I was thinking deep sea. Just anything, really. First thing that came to mind, though, that was like not something I've done recently was a jellyfish. And then I thought, well, how do I make an interesting jellyfish? Because I didn't want to just go generic-y jellyfish. So I remembered, like, the jellyfish with the big old sheet tentacles is how I would describe them. And then I had to find out what that was called. And it turns out it was giant phantom jellyfish. And they also just happen to look a little spookier than other jellyfish, at least in my opinion. So it's good for the spooky month. Yep, there's my backstory on why I drew this. I guess I should explain. I went with a mermaid type thing just because I wanted to also make it more interesting than just jellyfish. And yes, I could have done anything. I could have put like a bunch of eyeballs down there or something. But I decided to go with person body. I don't know. It's the old classic. I do human bodies all the time. Why not do it again? And for this, I actually found it kind of difficult to do the texture of the jellyfish. I was looking at a reference on Google, just like giant phantom jellyfish. Basically, there's 3 or 4 pictures that are really good, and then a whole bunch of the same pictures. So I just used like one of the first ones. But I found it difficult just because, well, the image I used was super grainy, so I couldn't really tell what it was, like texture-wise. So I mostly winged it. And it took, I don't know, a long time for it to get to a point where I liked it. And for most of this, I was just thinking in my head, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh geez. Which is, I mean, honestly, that's kind of how a lot of things go as I'm making them. Or it starts off like, sketch looks good. Texture, once I start rendering, looks, in my opinion, really bad. And then it gets better. Who would have thought? The more time and effort you put into it, the better it gets. Most of the time. I didn't use any reference for the body, so that was like completely winged it. I also thought back to day 1117, if I recall correctly, which is not on YouTube, but it exists, trust me, where it was a cuttlefish mermaid. So this is like another thing like that. Does it really matter? No. It's just tonally they're the same thing. Deep sea mermaid creatures that aren't just generic fish. So I'm not exactly sure the anatomy of the jellyfish, other than there isn't really anatomy in real jellyfish. But in the image I looked at, the giant phantom jellyfish had it looked like orange light either coming from inside of it, or like the outside skin was, or I don't know if it's skin or not, whatever the outside layer is, was transparent enough to where whatever was inside reflected orange back. I'm not sure, but I tried to incorporate that in the bulbous head thing. I don't know jellyfish anatomy terms. You get it, you see it. The not tentacle part. But I tried to incorporate that in there. I also tried to do that in the body. I ended up adding oranges all over. I also had purples and some really dull greens, but that's a bit later. Just to make it a whole lot more interesting and cohesive. So like already you can see in the shadowed areas I'm adding purple rather than orange. Just because in my mind that makes sense. In the light areas it's orange, and then purple in the dark ones. Does it, like, logically make sense? Yeah, I don't know. But it visually makes sense to me. I also am here trying to make it more interesting with the tentacles coming out more. I kind of wish that I made like really big ones really close to the camera. But, whatever. Already finished the drawing. It's in the past. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I also spent a long time just trying to figure out how to make the tentacles look like sheets of fabric. Because like the actual jellyfish itself, the tentacles do look like sheets of fabric, basically. Which is, in my opinion, really interesting. So I tried to mimic that. Yeah, it's okay. I think the larger side tentacles look better than those smaller ones that are going everywhere. I do try to make up for it by making those ones more colorful, so they're more interesting than just brown / red. I also make the tentacles that are like in the hair area kind of more, like I still tried to make them like sheets, but then I drew in color as if it was hair. So like if color was reflecting off of them and then it just happened to look like hair strands somehow is what I kind of went for. I also went in with like what I'm doing right now with it's a hard brush with lower opacity, just to do like a speckled pattern, just to add in texture. Is it accurate? It's nicer than just flat, smooth, whatever, skin, flesh. At least to me it is. Especially with the picture I used being so grainy. This looks better than the one I had. Now just going over with color dodge just to make those light areas pop more. Because having it be as, I guess, desaturated as I had before, just everywhere, kind of just blurs into each other. Whereas in adding that bright light helps it pop. You know, I need to make more time for these voiceovers because I feel like I'm losing it. More dead air, more whole bunch of nothing. Here's where I'm adding in more of that green, and pretty sure I used some color dodge in there just to make more areas pop. Doing that same strategy with the opaque hard brush to do more speckly patterns. Now adding in even more highlights. Add some texture to the face so it wasn't, again, not smooth. Like, I don't know what this jellyfish is actually like in real life, but I imagined it not being smooth. I imagined it being more like cloth, but like a horrible fleshy cloth. So that's what I tried to do. Now just trying to figure out shadows, just because that head is clearly underneath that giant bulbous thing, jellyfish head. So it should be in shadow. So now I added shadow in more places. And now I'm adding the light. Just because it's got to be lit up from something. I mean, sure, it's in the deep, deep ocean, but like, we're seeing it. And then because it's underwater, I'm adding all these effects of like particles floating there, since they would be catching the light floating around. It's basically like dust in the wheel, just air. Something's got to catch that light. And then also because it's water, I made like a blue fog toward the bottom, since it's further from the light, so more random junk would be catching it. And then I did random noise, chromatic aberration, yada yada. Magically makes it look better. And thank you for watching. That's all I had. Just finishing up things, adding some more dark shadows. Bye.